Oh. Hari Om, welcome. I'm so glad to be here with Mana TV International's wonderful audience for our third episode of Yoga the Union meditation series. In the last episode, we were talking about the gunas and setting up a regular daily practice. And today we're going to talk about a couple techniques working with the breath and a little bit more about creating a nice space for your practice. So again, go ahead, get the body settled in a comfortable way. You could be sitting on the ground, on a cushion, on a chair. You might be standing. All of that's fine. We haven't talked about this. I'm just going to mention it here, but we'll talk about it, maybe demonstrate it at another session. And that is, you could be walking as you meditate, doing a walking meditation. That's okay too. But right now I'm going to talk as if you're sitting somewhere. So clear the sits bones, move the shoulders around, move the head, neck, and jaw, loosen up, shake the arms, wrists, and fingers, push the tongue into the lips and cheeks, lift the chest up, the shoulders gently settle back and down comfortably. The neck lengthens, the crown of the head rises some. And stay with this nice uplifted posture, but soften the lower back and waist and belly. So shift around there until that all releases and it's just soft. But keep your nice, beautiful posture. Eyes can be open or closed, that's fine. We're going to work with the breath, but this time we're going to do it a little more consciously, understanding the technique of working with the breath. So the first time, we're just going to work with how the breath feels. Now you may find it useful to inhale and exhale a little more fully so you can really feel it easily, noting how it feels and making it easier to focus attention on the breath. So go ahead, exhale through the nostrils, inhale through the nostrils pretty deeply and fully. Soften the body and exhale through the nostrils gently, savoring it. Very comfortable, kind of savoring the exhalation. And then inhale again, a little more quickly on the inhalation, but not quick. All completely comfortable. Pause a second and exhale gently. Just notice how this feels. Notice how it's impacting both the physical form, the body. This deep breathing we're doing triggers what's known as the relaxation response, signaling all the cells of the body to relax, all of them. Get a signal to relax. Also, as you continue this, you'll find that the mind quiets down, starts to let go of its busyness and move into a centered way, more quiet, centered, just from this nice breathing. We're going to continue focusing on and feeling this breath, how it feels. So initially, for most people, as you're starting your meditation practice, the mind isn't yet focused and you want to get it focused, so it's sort of busy and active and distracted by thoughts and things that come up or thoughts that were already present. But you want to focus now on the breath. Bring your attention back to the breath. That's one of the reasons you're breathing more deeply, is because it makes it easier to pay attention to the breath. Now, if your mind happens to be in a sattvic way, an equanimity, a balanced way, you don't really have a lot of thoughts. You're just watching, and that's perfect. However, it may be in a more rajasic temperament where it's busy and wants to be thinking and considering and assessing. And if that's the case, then engage that aspect of the mind on thinking about the breath. Stay focused on the breath. So you say, this breathing, what's it feel like? You might notice the temperature as you inhale and the temperature as you exhale. You might. I'm not encouraging you to particularly look to do that, but if your mind's busy, focus on the breath. This is something you might be able to notice and consider. Another thing you might notice is what the pattern as you inhale, how the breath flows, what it feels like coming in and going out. Not so much the temperature, but the actual pattern of the flow. We already talked about noticing how the body is impacted by this breathing, how the mind is, the state of consciousness. Those are worthwhile things to consider that are still thinking about and focusing on the breath. Now, as you focus on the breath, you'll find that the mind will quiet down and not insist on thinking. You'll settle into a more sattvic state, this balanced equanimity. And then you'll be able to more easily keep the mind focused on the breath without making it deep breathing. So try that. Just try to let the breath flow on its own. It won't be deep, but still watch it go in and out. You're not even managing it now. You might notice that the breath goes in and out. You don't have to do a thing. That's just how the universe works with this body that you have. It breathes it. Now, as the breath becomes more subtle, consciousness becomes more subtle and aware. And you may start to notice the inner light. You may feel the heart or notice a light about this body radiating. You may. You don't have to look for these things. Just be aware of whatever your experience might be. Now, if you find you're no longer able to focus on the breath, then deepen the breath again so you can feel it. In a moment, we're going to spend a little more time working with the breath in a different way this time, though. But right now, just See how these last few minutes of keeping the mind focused on something, how that's impacted your state of consciousness, how you're viewing things. This is one of the important things to notice about a meditation practice, that when you finish whatever your technique is, what your practice is, you don't want to just get up and run about and leave the meditation. You want to take the meditation with you. You want to say, I see, I'm looking at things from this perspective. Let me go about my day in this perspective. The more you do that, the more familiar you'll become with it, and the easier it will be to just hang out with this. You'll like it. Now, because we're going to sit again and be still again for one more time this session, go ahead and shift the body around, loosen it up. You can even stand up if you want and get the body sort of refreshed. Stretch the legs out, stretch the arms, whatever you like. Go ahead, get fresh. I'm going to ask you to settle again in a moment, and we're going to focus on the breath and work with it in a completely different way now. One thing nice about the breath is that you always have it handy. You can always focus on the breath. You're never without it. So you can meditate wherever you are, focusing on the breath, using the breath as your object for your meditation. That's one of the great, great, great benefits of the breath as an object of meditation. It's also something that people have been doing, or it happens to people as just being a human being. We're all breathed by this universe. And that's the same in the past, and the same in the future, and the same for everyone. So it brings you to this beautiful unity, this sweet way of moving beyond time and space. So the breath is a really great, valuable object for your meditation. So now settle again. Get the body settled nicely. Lift the chest. Let the neck lengthen. Soften the chest and shoulders. And this time we're going to use sound, the sound of the breath. So you might want to develop the ability to use what's called ujjayi, the wheezing breath. It's a pranayama practice, ujjayi. And just do this for a moment. Open your mouth, breathe through the mouth and go, and then breathe in, making sound too. Breathe out. Now, to do that, you're squeezing the throat, the glottis. And we can all do this. But you want to squeeze the throat like that and breathe like that, but breathe through the nostrils, not the mouth. So now inhale, squeeze the throat, and exhale, making that sound, not as loud, just so you can hear it inwardly. You really don't want to make it an outward sound. Now you may find it useful to close the eyes for this practice because you really want to let it draw you inward. Now here's something to consider if the mind's busy and needs to be thinking actively, rajasic, and that is the sound of the breath. The inhalation is described as so, and the exhalation is ham. And in Sanskrit that has a meaning. So, that, ham, I am. So everyone's always repeating this universal mantra. I am that, I am that, I am that, I am. So just listen to your breath. Use the ujjayi so you can pay attention to it and focus on it. Let it draw your attention inward, the mind becoming one-pointed, which will move it into the meditative state. And in the same manner, after you get really focused on listening to the breath, so hum, and you're really focusing on listening, see if you can stay listening and let the breath not be audible. Just let it flow on its own, but you're still trying to listen to it. This will move your listening to that inner sound, the nada. And if you lose track of where you're focused, just make the breath a little bit audible so you can stay focused on the listening. You may find as you really focus on the listening that the breath almost stops entirely, becomes still. As the mind gets still, the breath gets still. And there's this incredible peace, this blissful state, this recognition of your true self, eternal, blissful, loving. You may hear inner sounds, ringing or humming, or lots of other possible ways the sound might manifest inwardly for you. This is the nada, the inner sound of being. Now please take in a breath and join me chanting Om. These are beautiful techniques. I encourage you to explore, become familiar with them, take advantage of them, have fun with them. So as we continue with this meditation series, I do welcome you to email any questions or comments or share what you'd like to share. And hopefully I'll have an opportunity to address some of those things in our future sessions. So an email you can do is info, I-N-F-O, at Princeton, IYCC .org. Info at Princeton, IYCC.org. So feel free to address your questions to me, Jayadeva, and keep up your daily meditation every day. Every day. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Next time I want to talk to you about how so many people all over the world have found meditation to be actually the most valuable thing we can possibly do as a human being. All love. Hari Om. Oh.